Hi, welcome everybody. Hello, come on in. Welcome. Welcome to BRIC. Welcome to BRIClab. Welcome to BRIClab at home, and welcome to Elevator, a work in progress created by Tahir Karmali, Mia Ravenio, and Elizabeth Tice. My name is BJ, and I'm the senior producer for performing arts at BRIC, and I run the BRIClab Performing Arts Residency. What is the BRIClab Performing Arts Residency? It is a 2-week intensive at BRIC in our artist studio where performing artists can explore and expand the possibilities of their work in any of the performing arts: music, dance, theater, comedy, performance art, you name it. We incubate it at BRIClab. And this year, I'm very excited that BRIC has created a one BRIClab residency that encompasses many more disciplines. So visual art, video art, and TV and film have all folded under this one BRIClab, and we're happy that we've been able to provide more professional development opportunities, mentorship, and more opportunities for networking for all of these artists across the disciplines. So that's really exciting. And so tonight, I'm happy to welcome you virtually. Normally for the BRIClab Performing Arts Residency, I'd be welcoming you in person, and we'd be showing a live in-person work in progress showing. But we've all had to pivot, and nobody, I think, is feeling the pressure of that pivot more than performing artists. But I am glad that Mia and Tahir and Liz have been able to be at BRIC in the artist studio these past 2 weeks safely, working on this piece and still being able to push it forward. And so what they have created over the past week and a half is a video iteration of what will eventually be a multimedia performance that hopefully can eventually be shown live in person someday. And so tonight, what we are doing is we are screening that video iteration for you. Then we'll take a 5-minute break, and we have a Google survey that we hope that you will fill out to give feedback to the artists. And then we will follow that up with a panel discussion that will be moderated by Liz Tice. And we're thrilled that Liz is here with a panel that she has put together to talk about algorithmic justice. So that is how the night is going to unfold. We are going to be putting information in the chat as we go so that you can access that Google survey, so that you can get the bios of all of the panelists, so you can go to the homepage for Elevator on BRIC's page and get more information about the project and the artists. So now I am thrilled to introduce the creators of Elevator, and that is Mia Ravenio, Tahir Karmali, and Liz Tice. Will you all, I would say, come on up if I were like on a stage at BRIC, but I guess it's like Zoom, pop into the Zoom, show me your faces, and come on in and say hi. Excitingly, Tahir and Mia are actually still at BRIC, and so that's really fun that they're zooming in live from the artist studio where the magic happens. And so it's somewhat like normal times, maybe. Anyway, Mia or Tahir or Liz, do one of you want to talk a little bit about Elevator and tell everybody a little bit more about the piece and the project and what they're going to see tonight?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're really excited to share our work with you. I am Mia Ravenio. I'm the writer, director, collaborator on Elevator with Tahir Karmali and Liz Tice. We're really excited to welcome you. We're here at the BRIC studio, hence the mask. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the work in progress you're about to see. The Elevator collaboration between the three of us started about 2 years ago when the three of us came together to create a piece on pitching, this strange practice that we see among founders of startups seeking to sell their ideas. So we were really intrigued by this ritualistic nature of the kind of performance of the pitch and found ourselves getting more and more curious about the world of startups, venture capital, big tech, and big data, and how the companies have had the biggest impact on our lives all started their journey with pitching a simple idea to someone with a lot of money. And flash forward, we have Twitter and Facebook. So our research immediately revealed the issues of equity and power that were baked into the landscape of big tech. And these issues were really inescapable and directly showed up even in the language of pitching. And we just took a real deep dive, and we were influenced by the work of MIT researcher Joy Buolamwini and her organization, the Algorithmic Justice League. Check her out, check her work out. Ruha Benjamin's book, Race After Technology, Abolition Tools for the New Jib Code, an amazing, amazing book. We really suggest everybody read it. And Caroline Criado Perez's Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. So the work we've been creating here at BRIC will eventually be an immersive multimedia performance. And of course, because we're in pandemic times, we are currently exploring the topics that we are interested in during this 2-week residency at BRIC within COVID safety guidelines. So we've created a work in progress video iteration for you of the piece. It's a 22-minute video. And we hope that you enjoy what we've been experimenting with. Without further ado, Marcus is going to take it away and the video will begin.
Hi, I'm Angelica Little, CTO of ThoughtBot. I would like to begin with a simple idea: growth. Every day, 8 billion people risk not reaching their full potential by the end of their lifetimes. And as it stands today, we cannot achieve true, sustainable growth. How can we be better humans? What if I told you a leap in evolution was possible within nanoseconds using quantum computing just 1 click away? At ThoughtBot, we analyze people's communication, behavior, personality, forethought, and afterthought from video data to give us insight about whether a person fits a position, and if not, what placement we deem suitable. Our platform that revolutionizes scalable consensus protocols with total accuracy and 0 variance from the status quo is optimal. We see you, we hear you, we collect you, we face recognize you. Everything you say, your words, your voice, how fast you speak, how loud you speak. And we make personality predictions based on how you behave, move, walk, sigh, blink, sync, think, breathe. Using our artificial intelligence model, we make predictions on the type of person you are and the type of person you can be intellectually. Our classification system is unrivaled. No one can question it. It learns from our mistakes. Our signature predictive algorithm can identify thoughts you need not previously disclose. We got you. We deliver scalable architecture, quick and friendly privacy login with native apps, rich complications translated dynamically using Xcodes and the full power of SD. Our system excels at every type of input. Silicon is at the heart of our hardware. We help our consumers manage their digital identity in a self-sovereign way on a blockchain. Introducing ThoughtBot 2020. We're building a software upgrade for humans. A genus operating system, a personhood elevator, a personalized video analysis, an AI-infused influencer. It's genius. We're building infrastructure across Africa. In fact, we're building a diaspora, enlisting DNA-identifying microbes for validity verification with 1 microscopic magnet, 1 GPS signal, 1 eye-tracking auto-refresh, thought commands sent over Bluetooth. We're building navigation systems for city bikes, satellites, scooters, and hoverboards using lasers. Our unmatched NLP allows complete native device adoption. We introduce everyday off-the-shelf manufacturing materials to 3D printing. We help businesses onboard new users and help consumers optimize their optics in a self-sovereign way on a blockchain. Our software gives advice in real time. We're doing extended reality for private equity enterprises. We are virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, astrological reality, pharmaceutical reality experts. And now we're launching Afterthought Answers. An AI agent who delivers answers to your workforce before they even ask. We deliver concrete answers in uncertain times. Concrete content deployed on Amazon, Alexa, Instagram, Google Home, Facebook Messenger. With one click in real time, it's live. It's super easy. We've onboarded design agencies, dev shops, retailers, financial institutions. All save time and money by using Afterthought AI. We are VR. That creates isolated environments to measure brainwave activity and derives whether a person likes something in the environment or not. Whether you like it or not, we're onboarding you to a better world. We analyze, recognize, identify, rank, and data mine. We displace you in order to place you. Depersonalize your personalization so you remain adjacent to our central functionality. Thanks to our angel investors, we are the delta between you and your true potential. We're H to H, H to C, C to A to AI to human smoothly and seamlessly. We're here to think your thoughts before you think them. You'll never be left alone with them again. We've got you. You are an industry ready for disruption. We must elevate the conversation. This is our catalyst. Join us in the revolution.
Hi, I'm Felicity Simmons, CMO of ThoughtThought. What if your hardware could be as iterative, agile, adaptive as our state-of-the-art software? At ThoughtThought, we've been innovating a machine learning quantum computing personalization platform. Our functionality specializes in quantifying your visibility to achieve our invisible center for quality assurance, maximizing your holistic integration into our rich ecosystem. We live in a tangled nest of wires. We're constantly replacing ones that break or get lost. Don't get left behind in the tangle. Introducing Forethought, Afterthought, Forethought. Introducing ThoughtThought 2020. We onboard new users faster, cheaper, funnier, leaner. We cancel the competition. We'll debut the new you with data points. Our app can download your personality, make you custom workflows discoverable at just the right moment using big data. We're optimizing your cash flow problem in the supply chain of baby name generators. We offer peer-to-peer learning. We've got your data fusion covered for all your beauty branding needs. You're gonna love it. This is a giant leap forward. Our direct-to-consumer model lets you transact directly from your brain, from your home office, bathtub, StubHub, Pornhub, GitHub. We acquire consumers through SEO, SMO, metadata, PR 2.0. We've onboarded many companies, many fantastic companies. We're huge. My body trusts the algorithm. Your body should too. No body can deny our ACF. We make decisions for you whose implications you will never understand. What differentiates ThoughtThought is the talent of our team. We come from the top universities and companies in the world's leading VC advisories. And we could only create this because of our amazing team. Our amazing team. Our award-winning team. Our groundbreaking team.
We are multi-platform. Our amazing team is
crushing it. We are a goddamn case study.
Using our proprietary deep neural network architecture, we input to our artificial intelligence model to understand the facts contained in your knowledge sources.
To make predictions on the type of person you will be corporeally.
Our consumers use big data to minimize the scanning process in warehouses. Our products reduce warehouse management costs, increase service levels, and optimize digital assets, non-fungible tokens, to hardwire desensitivity into your high functionality.
Sometimes it can feel like we're all alone, always updating the content to keep it fresh, but we don't have to be. That's why we created Afterthought AI. We're with you. We got you covered from every angle. High speed, in HD.
We are Photoshop for voice design.
Instagram for teaching tools.
Twitter for trigonometry.
Amazon for the atmosphere. SoundCloud for solicited solipsism. Alexa for sex positivity. Jitter for autoimmunity autonomy.
Messenger for mind melt. Interference for integration. Face recognition for truth and reconciliation. We are Flash for the sake of Flash.
We're leaving code behind to build quality content. We're leaving analytics behind to bring quality content. We're leaving thought behind to sell quality content. Leave the old you behind.
Become quality content. We're providing a voice app, personality app, memory app, anatomy app, brainwave app, amnesia app upgrade in one high-speed update.
And our design app lets us turn your prototypes into one streamlined conversational model, running on our own proprietary natural language processing engine that we offer in multiple languages. We create you content once on our AI platform and deploy it instantly.
Come talk to us.
Come talk to us.
Come talk to us. With one click in real time, it's live.
It's super easy. We are multi-platform, diversifying the field through our singular lens. Join us.
We got you.
Hi, I'm Riley Dunn, CEO of Thought, and this ain't my first rodeo. From Silicon Alley to Silicon Valley, from the stressed coast to the best coast, I'm a serial entrepreneur innovating in the digital design space. Our CMO builds strategies for several big international design agencies. Our CTO has a triple beam PhD degree in NLP, and our stellar team has successfully secured funding for the biggest academic projects in natural language processing. This is a truly historic day. What differentiates us is our thought. What differentiates us is our wit. What differentiates us is our center. We are determined to keep the human at the center of intelligent design. We're teaching AI to behave like we behave now, and teaching you to behave like our AI behaves,
So
we can move forward.
You'll never need your voice again. You'll never need your memory again. Don't look back.
You won't need your history ever again. So I can move forward. Vulnerability is at the core of our company culture.
With Thought Solutions, you'll never be vulnerable again. We engineer out your discomfort.
Our algorithm scans the room, predicts when your followers are susceptible, powerless, defenseless, weak. At just the right moment, you'll be weaponized to strike, to entice. Simply deploy our optics of empathy to present optimal vulnerability. Get the job, the car, the date, the sale, the wife, the life. Using Thought vulnerability solutions.
2 years ago, no one was using thought-enabled devices.
Control the conversation, elevate yourself.
People, it's time to glow up. Upload your consciousness, to upgrade your wokeness, boost your virtue signal.
Creativity breeds diversity. And diversity is at the core of our company culture.
Diversity breeds creativity, and creativity is at the core of our company culture.
Hi, we are three white dudes with a solution. Our human-centered post-race lenses are contacts that make you colorblind, so I can move forward. We are your lens. We understand, because me is at the center of we. We are female forward. We are BIPOC powered. But really we are white, with client-facing color. We are the default. We are the subscription model you didn't even know you ordered. And we just keep on delivering.
We are
synthesis, antithesis,
synthesis, antithesis.
Forward thinking without looking back. Rapid adoption via culture cancellation. Smart devices left to our own devices. Analytics, catalytics, connectivity mystics, messianic misfits, webmasters, the internet gods. The tech empire, Deus, guru, master, genius, master species, master genus, species, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom, domain, name.
What's in a name? If I say the word rose, can Can you picture it? Can you smell it? Can you gift it to a friend? Can you feel its weight, its volume, its value? Is the code word rose the presence of the flower? And can it conjure its original power? Well, with thought, a rose is a rose is a rose. Our elite language naming system is authorial. Our code is corporeal, dimensionally dynamic, embedded and eyebrow threaded, automated, integrated, intimate. In fact, you'll fall right in love with it.
And to truly deliver on this promise, we developed Thought Airspace Pro. Our native app now offers preloaded DNA configuration to deliver a full-screen surround spatial audio immersive experience, so you won't lose sight of our consolidated navigation.
As you fully express yourself, the projection of your wealth, your food, current mood, or your ringtone, skin tone, vocal pitch, your feed on Twitch, your gorgeous electronic handwriting, LED mood lighting, your smizing. Our subtly adjustable frequencies are auto-converting your sizing, bringing you automated compression, conversion, therapy, holistic self-care immersion. The user experience is myriad. No third-party apps, period.
Put us to work for you. We know how to take advantage of our native technology so you can auto-share, populate, and propagate our influence across social media's elite indigenously. Be the first to help the world transition into the ecosystem of the Thought suite.
Look how far we've come, with just blood, sweat, and tears.
You can manifest your destiny here. We're modeling minority data for majority assimilation. Free associate your right to associate freely in our model simulation.
And with Thought Fitness, the transition is smooth, slim, slick, quick, with just one click. One swipe, you will be wiped. Clean, calm, neutral, Kama-sutral.
We're optimizing you for your human upgrade. Just leave it to our engineers. Our machine learning model sensitively interprets your every move with built-in translation, so you won't waste precious time navigating yourself or nation.
Sounds complicated, doesn't it? Don't worry, we've got you. Those are some highlights, but there's so much more our team is ideating at our lab in an undisclosed location.
Our background refresh conjures real-time distractive impressions of wide landscapes and lush green trees. When you feel like you're trapped within our tiny square screen feeds, we're serving you Hudson Valley, Joshua Tree. We're even working on Marfa. And next up, Jakarta.
Our flagship cloud is lovingly drone hovering over your personalized icon and the dotted line you auto-signed on. The ultimate elevator.
Our hosting network features the widest amnesia package delivered to date. Our pioneering neural engine crops your image to keep our architecture the same and at the center of the frame. We adjust you to our image route, copy-paste our attributes, and color correct in a single step. Animation is perfectly fluid. Playback is live and super smooth. It's 2020. We're working around the clock for you. And the exhaustive toll of our infinite scroll means we're here for you, even when you're unconscious. We've eliminated the machinations of log in, log out battery life limitations, elevating you to a whole new level. With the Thought upgrade, you'll fully integrate, light as a feather, hands-free. You can stay tethered, carefree.
And connected to me. We keep our friends close, but keep our customers closer.
Nutrition facts for apps. Our suite of embedded identity applications is fully streamlined. In fact, it's mainlined straight to your vein lines. And our state-of-the-art body hardware guarantees swift DNA delivery directly to the bloodstream. We're coding in real time. The body knows the score, and we're composing the melody line.
Our elegant native Thought app boasts our signature, iconic, intelligent design. With the distinct look and feel of our founder, bundled in an entirely new deal that gives you the impression of change that's real. And this is only the beginning.
Our radical transparency model means we keep no secrets from you. We've been refining, scaling, failing you and trailing you. And our data mining guarantees that we just know you'll love it too. Thought fits perfectly in the palm of my hand and into every man's hand to keep humans at the center of experience. All you need is a little ingenuity, diversity, creativity, and visibility. All you need is a relinquishing of identity, a disbanding of stale latency, a disruption of your agency, a personalized data wipe. All you need is a compatible DNA swipe. You are ready for your update, to be elevated by our upgrade. You've got yourself a slam dunk. Sink, sank, sunk. You've already chosen us, and we knew that before you did. What differentiates us? What differentiates us? What differentiates us? Our mission, our pillars, our disruption. We are accessibility, mobility, sustainability, solution-based. Hi, we're three white dudes, and while you were dealing with misogyny and racism, we solved a problem you didn't even know you had. And we're here to offer the solution. A better world where we becomes me. We are white. We are live. We are live and white. We are white with client-facing color. And we are super easy to interface with. Hell, I've been using the new thought since the first generation of this suite. Creating man in his own image? Trust me, is so neat.
Replicating an old world whose disappearance we've been feigning, using machine learning models, algorithmic obedience training.
We're still in beta. It's hard to see the forest for the trees, but I have blind faith in big data biases.
We target, we aim, we fire, we convert, we onboard,
we deploy. Today, we are the #1 selling product on Amazon. Today, we see consistent, rapid adoption. Today, we exponentially exceed all expectations. Today, families are begging to have us in their homes. Every family. And this is only the beginning of a massive wave about to hit. And you bet brands are jumping on this opportunity. This market is more than 38 B.
Don't be left behind. We will be deploying on multi-platforms. Don't be left behind.
And we could only create this platform because of our amazing team. Our amazing team. Our amazing team. What makes us truly unique is that we give you the power. For real-time content management, we offer a freemium model, but it will cost you everything. When we go live, the pricing goes up.
You'll feel so free. You'll be indebted to me.
So if you need extra features, you can buy that from us.
If you don't come on board right now,
If you don't come on board right now, you'll be left behind.
If you want to be part of the future, come talk to us.
Come talk to us. Come talk to us. Come talk to us. We will now be deploying on multiple platforms.
It truly is a historic day for Thought. And we've never been more confident that when we all work together, we can truly evolve. We are boldly moving forward together, infinitely tethered. And there's so much more in store we didn't have time to talk about.
Hi. I would like to begin with a simple idea.
Thank you, everyone. This is where we will take a 5-minute break. And so we are going to put a link to the Google survey into the chat. If you would please take a few moments. It's just 2-3 questions, I think. And then, of course, if you need a bio break, please take that opportunity. So it's 7:33 now, according to my clock. So we'll be back at 7:38. See you soon. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a chance for a short bio break and took a moment to fill out the survey. If anyone missed any part of the video, we will send around the YouTube link at the end of the panel so you can watch that video on your own time. It will remain up on YouTube, on BRICbrooklyn's YouTube, for another week or so. So if you missed it, don't worry, we'll send you the link at the end of the panel. So now it is my great honor and privilege to welcome Liz Tice back to the screen to introduce and moderate our panel. Thank you, Liz.
Awesome.
Hi, Liz.
Thank you so much, BJ, and thank you to the BRIC team. You all have been amazing. This is quite a feat creating art during COVID, and we really appreciate your flexibility and willing to work with us. So thank you very, very much. I'm very excited to introduce our panel. We have a wonderful panel tonight. So we'll start off with Sean Green, the CEO of Arternal, and please just show up as I call your name. Oh, wait. Nice. Hello, Sean. And then Jenny Gerow, who is the contemporary art curator at BRIC. She will be joining us as well. And Lisa Nash, a data scientist at IDEO. Hi, Jenny, Lisa. And lastly, Wendy Xiao Schadeck, who is a principal at Northzone Ventures. Awesome. And it looks like almost everyone has stayed through the 5 minutes. So thank you so much, audience. Thank you to our panelists for being here. It is a bit of an intense piece and we will get into it, but maybe we just come back into the room and take a big breath together, shake it out, whatever you need to do. But let's just take one breath at least. Awesome. Awesome. Really excited to have you all here. As Mia spoke earlier before, this is a piece or a concept we've been thinking about for a while, so it's amazing to see this part come to fruition. Before I have the honor of introducing our panelists, I'd love to just get some housekeeping out of the way. We'll run this panel for about 45 minutes, so we'll take it to before 8:30. We are joined by an amazing panelist, so an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, a data scientist, and a contemporary art curator. We're going to save about 15 minutes at the end for questions, but through Zoom at the bottom of your screen, you can start submitting questions whenever they come up. So please do, and then we'll just save time at the end to respond to them. But as soon as they come up, please do. Please have your questions oriented towards the panelists and their experience based on our conversation. Any feedback specifically for the piece, please do that, or feedback for the artist, please do that in the Google form. This will be focused on the panelist experience and what they bring to the table from their own realms and environments. And I think with that, we can get started. So let's start off with some introductions. I will ask each panelist to just share some more about themselves and share their reflection on the piece. So what resonated with you? They all come from very different realms, different backgrounds, different work environments. So what stood out to you? There's a lot in the piece. So just share high level thoughts. And maybe we'll start with Sean. That would be great.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Sean Green. I'm co-founder and CEO of an art and technology startup called Arternal. We're a business automation tool for leading art galleries, auction houses, art fairs, and collectors is the new thing that we're working on. So the video is intense, as Liz mentioned. Things that stood out to me in the video was the repetitive nature of the pitch and the theatrics of the pitch. I almost feel like I'm in the middle of it right now as I'm just closing off my seed round, and it's a lot. You're speaking to 40, 50, 60 plus investors, even more, and you're constantly preparing and coming up with different ways to tweak and iterate. I almost felt like I was getting a little bit of anxiety reliving the whole problem. Like, don't tell me I got to raise again. Like I'm done with this whole raising thing and can't wait to get these wires in the door. But yeah, that for me, that's what I feel like it feels like PTSD actually, to be honest.
Amazing. Well, not amazing, but thank you for sharing. Jenny, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jenny Gerow. I'm the curator of contemporary art at BRIC. And I run not only the BRIClab contemporary art residency at BRIC, but I also curate in the gallery. And for me, while I'm not necessarily in tech, I certainly feel like there's been a turn recently in contemporary art where, due to COVID, everybody has kind of moved online. So for me, there was a lot of resonance in the way that the video was framed and how I've kind of been experiencing talking heads on Instagram Live. And so for me, I was thinking a lot about like the way that this work, you know, was supposed to be staged versus what it is now. And for me, it feels like the intensity is so much more extreme in the video version than it would be in person, where you would at least kind of have some feeling of normalcy, where the human being in front of you would kind of look like a human, as opposed to what I was experiencing on the video, which is this intense feeling of like a machine talking to me, which I'm sure is was very intentional, but quite disturbing, and also you know, with the kind of visuals that were happening behind the talking heads, you got this kind of queasy feeling of you trying to kind of allure me even further into this scary world, which I thought was, again, in thinking about how it existed in video form versus performance-based in person. Certainly, I felt like that was achieved to kind of a level of intensity that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It is quite intense, especially as you zoom up and you feel a bit trapped because you're watching it, which is kind of the point of elevator pitch, that you're a captive audience. Lisa, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hey everybody, I am Lisa. I am a data scientist at IDEO, which is a consulting design company. It's kind of funny because we do what's called human-centered design. So this whole piece in the middle of that art piece where they're talking about the human-centered nature of their product really kind of like stood out a lot to me and resonated. I think some of my impressions from the video were kind of like the one thing I noticed kind of immediately is like the density of buzzwords around data and AI that they were using in the elevator pitch, and really kind of like the lack of transparency or clarity about what exactly this product is that we're being sold. We don't know, it just seems like all we know is that it's kind of going to make us better, but in what ways? It reminded me of kind of concepts of techno-benevolence, where we think that like technology is going to come solve all of our problems, and made me wonder kind of what are they optimizing for and what are the metrics behind that. It reminds me a lot of you know, what we see going on with data and AI kind of today. So that was you know, they're optimizing to maybe to a reality that isn't the place that we want to go. So yeah, it was just super interesting. So those were some of my like high level thoughts or like things that stood out to me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lisa. And we'll definitely come back to that idea of optimization and how there's a constant striving for growth. Like even from the beginning, it's about growth and the human upgrade. I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And what is tech's role in doing this?
Yeah, I think one of the first questions, or I wrote down at some point, they asked, how can we be better humans? And then the way they're trying to answer it is just very interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Wendy, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I work at Northzone Ventures. We're a global venture fund, been around for 23 years. I've been at the fund for 5 years. We invest in early stage companies, seed through Series C, and our fund size is about 500 million, and we've got just under, I think, 200 investments in our history of the fund. So we've been around for a while. I guess, we don't spend a ton of time in the art world, and I might be one that has a bit of a different background than most of the others here. And it's been so interesting, and I'm so glad I, as a part of this. But going through the video at first, a lot of the buzzwords are familiar, as you guys pointed out, and the intensity is also familiar, because founders can be quite intense when they pitch you, and it's a short pitch, so you have to be super tuned in to hear the full thing and fully digest it and ask smart questions. And so I was actually just exhausted mentally in the first 30 seconds trying to understand everything logically. I think they said something about self-sovereign identities on the blockchain. I actually invested in a company that does self-sovereign identities on the blockchain. And so trying to piece it all together logically was exhausting. But then I just kind of let go and let it sort of become this sort of ambiance around buzzwords. And it was really interesting. I think some parts were actually really funny. Some parts were, intense and creepy. I think that the main thing that left me feeling was that there's this need or this want to offload parts of our brain into technology. And I think it's already happened with things like spatial thinking and Google Maps. Certainly I have no idea how to navigate myself around without my phone anymore. And then we offload a lot of our social interactions into text and social media. And so that felt like, this was the full gambit of offloading everything into technology, which is very, very creepy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Also a really great point. And I love hearing you say that the elements of intensity are reflective of what you experience in your work. That I've been around a lot of startup founders and they can be quite intense. So I definitely understand that. And the idea that you're under pressure as an investor to comprehend everything so quickly that's getting thrown at you is also interesting. It's the other side of the coin, but you're all part of this system where we just move really fast and make decisions really quickly. But thank you all for introducing yourselves. Thank you all for your reflections and for being here. The piece itself is named Elevator. So I'd love to start with elevator pitches. So I'd love to turn to Sean and then Wendy. And Sean, you referenced this in your intro. What does it actually mean to be for you on the pitching side? And then for Wendy, for you on the other side of a pitch, and what is that? How does it feel? What emotions is going on when you're part of pitching?
Yeah, I think early on, I'm a decade plus into tech startup-dom, having done, 2 tech startups, Arternal, which is one we're in, we have now, 8 years into the art world. So, where, early on I would do pitches on stage and you're in front of, a bunch of people. I think you felt that nervous, butterflies in your stomach, anxiety. And then as you mature, mentally and understand the theatrics of a pitch, because a pitch is incredibly theatrical. When you're trying to get your points across, and hope that you're communicating in a way that's palatable or that resonates to the audience, which could be anywhere from, 1 person to 100+ people who are looking at it, depending on where you're pitching. Now my pitches are different. Well, obviously today we're pitching in Zoom, but pre-COVID, my pitches were, in person. You're driving. I used to drive up to San Francisco before we had a budget. Now I fly, to San Francisco from LA. And, you're doing, you do the Sand Hill Road tour where all the VCs are, you do, and then you do individual meetings. So, pitches have changed, over time, and the whole anxiety stuff goes away. Now I'm more concerned that what I'm saying lands, because it's easy for, an investor to get a pitch deck, that you send ahead of time, or a teaser deck, and not fully get the story until you provide your talk track to it, so that they can match your vision to the slides. So, now it's more, no real bugs. We were oversubscribed on this round, so I'm turning away investors, which is like an interesting position to be in. But yeah, that's pitching from my perspective.
Awesome. Wendy?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because I've just sat through like a lot of pitches today and this week. And it is quite different doing it over Zoom versus in person, but I'll speak to just kind of regularly. In person, I think what's been really effective when I hear a pitch is that entrepreneur is sort of conveying their emotion about the product and the future and, the kind of reality distortion that they want to build. And that emotion coming across is very important for me to get excited about what they're building, because they really need to kind of pull me into this, like, again, this reality that doesn't exist yet, and have to make it really real through kind of like human cues. And then they're sort of, crossing the T's and dotting the I's and being able to jump into the details of the business to make it kind of intellectually sort of appealing for kind of your investment criteria. But I think a lot of it is really, and then it morphs into more of a conversation. I tend to like those better because you're ultimately investing in the person and you want to see what there is kind of behind the prepared pitch. And so we tend to drift off into just kind of more custom kind of conversations around the idea of the future that they want to build. But I guess from an investor's perspective, there isn't so much sort of that anxiety, except, you want to make sure you're really tuned in, as I said earlier, and digesting everything that the founder is saying, and you want to be able to ask smart questions. And so there's like empathy from that perspective. And I think a good investor should always have that empathy. I think there are a lot of dismissive investors as well who sort of feel it's more of like they're the one getting pitched and it's your job to kind of make them excited about your idea. I think there's different ways different people deal with the pitch.
Yeah, it's interesting how you both talk about the theatrical element of pitching, and the idea of founders like envisioning the future that doesn't exist, and so needing to do a lot of storytelling and like build this idea. I would like to open it up to Jenny and Lisa if any of this resonates in your lives or your work lives, of like how are you promoting or pitching yourself, because there is an element where it becomes yourself, where it's like it's not just the product and not just the company, but like you are selling a bit of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think pitching is an act that happens pretty often in the contemporary art world. Certainly there's, pitching on the curatorial end where you're pitching an idea at the kind of early development stages of an exhibition or an idea, all the way to the end where you're, pitching the idea to newspapers or to writers to try and write it up and get some press for it. Certainly there's also the opposite end too, where artists are pitching themselves to a curator to show at a specific space. And I would say that certainly it's changed quite a bit over the years. I mean, now there's websites for most artists that are kind of pitch sites or decks, as Xiao and Wendy were talking about. And then there's all these open calls, which have a kind of pitch quality to them, where an organization will ask for applications from artists to either show in their space or to do residencies, like the BRIClab residency. And to a certain extent, that is through and through a pitch, not only for that artist, but for a particular idea. Certainly Lizzie went through that for this particular residency. So I think within that, it's an interesting model to kind of look at, because there is this, vision of kind of an unbiased process to choosing the artists. And if we want to dive into what that means, it's very hard to be unbiased as a curator. We'll have our set of ideas and visions for what makes sense within our space. And that is sometimes either visible or invisible to the artist or to the larger public.
Awesome. Lisa, did you want to jump in, or we can move on? I was going to ask you all about, I love this idea that came up in a bunch of your intros about the tech benevolence. I think you used that term, Lisa, and Wendy, offloading, like what parts of our brain do we want to offload to technology, since we do that a lot now, especially with phones in our pockets, of like where is the line drawn between the human and the object, because we rely so much on technologies around us. And I'd love to hear, let's start with Lisa and then Jenny, of how this shows up in your work and life and how you make these decisions, and think about building, for you, Lisa, thinking about building technologies that play with these dynamics.
Sure. So yeah, I specifically brought up the concept of techno-benevolence, which is something that I became familiar with through Ruha Benjamin's book, Race After Technology. So that's a term that she uses. I think someone mentioned that book earlier on this panel. And really what she's talking about is the way that we tend to be tackling a lot of like problems that people have or societal issues with the tech solution, instead of like first looking for other ways that we might solve things. So it might be something like from a really extreme example, like predictive policing algorithms that sometimes get implemented, where we're really like, this isn't the right tool to be like tackling the problems that society is facing. Just the whole thought that like tech solutions are good. So I think in my work at IDEO, kind of where we kind of might see this come up, isn't as extreme as that, but it's the thought that's like, what's going to fix this here? Like maybe we need some kind of algorithm in place, or we need some kind of app that's going to fix something. So that's kind of like where we encounter it. Where I would say that, like, the way I try to think about it is to not jump to more like technical solutions immediately, and kind of go with simpler things where possible. Like, so yeah. As far as offloading, yeah, I'll leave my answer around kind of like that. It's really, even as a data scientist, I think it's hard to sometimes step back and say like, this isn't really my problem to solve, but it's kind of required to not, go off the rails with things. I guess like another thing I'll say about that is it also kind of reminds me of how you can make almost any solution sound good. So like during this pitch that they're giving, they're making it sound like this is, it actually sounds kind of scary, but they're kind of hiding it in words that sound like it might be something you actually want. And I think it's really important to not only look at like the bright side of what you're doing, but the negative side, negative consequences as well. So
yeah, that's definitely true. There's definitely a lot of like, like smoke and mirrors in the pitch about, especially with the jargon that most people don't understand, of like what's really going on here. Jenny, I was hoping you would join as well the conversation that around how technology is starting to influence curation in art and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, since certainly since COVID, it's changed dramatically in that like most experiences are now online. But even before that, I think curation has, to a certain extent, largely become about websites and Instagram. I think a lot of the way that we understand artists in the kind of initial phase of looking for certain exhibitions comes from profiles on Instagram and who they know and how big their following is. It's kind of a dirty little secret to a certain extent that we all kind of play into, is who do we know, and who respects us and who is following us. And that often comes from Instagram, but it also comes from websites. I mean, I imagine it was happening before in galleries and various other ways previously, but it's now mostly moved to that platform. And then I would say that technology has shifted in a lot of ways. This move towards like online galleries or viewing rooms where artwork is now digitally represented in a space, either simulated from the space that you typically work in, or a completely fabricated space. And I find that to be slightly problematic, that we can completely simulate something that we were experiencing in real life, and then claim that to be a direct representation and experience the same way. I would hope that the art world can kind of pivot from this experience and hopefully think about ways to creatively engage with the online experience through kind of digital projects. But I think it remains to be seen in the 7-8 months that we've been kind of distanced from one another, that actually is going to happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Sean, you're super tapped into the art world through your company. Has it changed the way you think about your company, or the way that you guys are building your product, of like the evolution of even the impact from COVID, or the evolution of different art and the mediums of art?
Yeah, with the pandemic, we've actually seen an accelerated interest in our business. For us, we were in this position where we were selling and educating for a few years, because the market are not early adopters of technology, right? Like art dealers, on the totem pole or hierarchy of needs, technology was further to the bottom of the totem pole. But with everything that's happened, you can't fly to an art fair. Art fairs don't exist. There's not the frenzy of the exhibition. And the art world trades on information, right? And it's that in-person frenetic activity and sharing of that information that gives you the ability to understand, what the hottest artist is, or what shows that should be seen, or what did I miss? That whole FOMO aspect, is not there. So how do you create that sense of urgency that propels the selling of artwork? Is ways how things that dealers are thinking about in terms of being able to drive a sale. For us, we had always built Arternal to be a place where it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, you have the ability to leverage our software to be able to drive your business and communicate effectively to your clients. And so when you're in a distributed work from home environment where you need to understand what your colleagues are doing, and who sent what to who, and how do we create a sense of urgency, or understand like who's looking at what, we provide data so that our clients have the ability to understand how people are engaging, so that they don't spam their clients, or so that they understand how to have those sensitive touch points. And people were kind of like really sensitive to begin with COVID. They're like, oh shoot, the market's crashing and we have a pandemic. I don't even want to say like hit one character to my client in this particular time and you know, have some empathy for what's going on. But then as, you know, we got through, you know, the heavy part of it and the market started to bounce back, you know, I was in contact with a dealer who were, you know, pretty major dealer who were currently courting. And, you know, they were like, you know, I'm chilling in my crib right now. I'm you know, hanging back. I haven't taken a break in 30 years and artwork is selling. So they're like, if it costs me typically $9 to do what I do, and I'm making 11, then, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm net positive. But if it's costing me 6 or 7 and I'm still making 11, why do we need to change things?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we put out a blog post that was about click and mortar, because it's no longer about brick and mortar these days. It's about the hybrid of like click and mortar, and that's what we believe the future of the art market is going to be.
Interesting. So it is the idea that maybe with COVID just accelerating trends that were already happening, and now it's like more here to stay than going back to normal.
Not going back. Transparency in pricing is actually a real big thing that, you know, everybody's able to see what artwork costs now. So that's changing the whole culture of like how art dealing is done.
Yeah, I feel like we could go down a rabbit hole, especially with Wendy, about how technology is going to take over our lives and how we're going to see much more in terms of crypto. I'd love to turn it, and please in the audience, if you have questions, please add to the Q&A. But I'd love to start thinking about, I feel like the big audience, the big elephant in the room from this piece is thinking about biases and inequity in tech and venture and in startups. And so Wendy, maybe we can start with you of like, what has been your experience within VC as you were a founder yourself, if being a woman comes up for you, or if there are issues that you face through work, and what you witness in the industry.
Yeah, I think, you know, in the past couple of years, you've actually made a lot of progress in being vocal about some of these things. And the numbers are showing more and more women are starting to be involved in early stage venture. More and more women are being funded, though I think there was like a recent lapse in that during COVID, showed that women founders are actually being funded less again because people started relying on their existing networks, less willing to meet new founders. And so, you know, maybe we got some work to do again. But I mean, as a whole, I think this issue has been discussed a lot. What I want to kind of re-emphasize is like beyond the obvious things of like hiring more women and promoting more women and empowering more women to make kind of decisions in technology, both on kind of the founder and the investing side. And they come hand in hand, I think, like just to harp on that a bit. I think once I realized my entire week was full of like 75% meetings with women, and I didn't mean to do that. Just as men have biases, women do as well. And so, you know, I probably am more inclined to fund a female founder, and you just have to kind of get the numbers up there on both sides to kind of really bring equity into it. But outside of that, which there's a lot happening, and there's a lot of great initiatives within venture, like All Raise is a really good example of one. There's still these like really subtle, I think they're almost like language barriers, or like these vague like, yeah, there's like vague language that still perpetuates, I think, sometimes this inequity, and these things just perpetuate kind of our own biases and others. For example, I do get references, sometimes I hear references of women founders being difficult versus men founders are, you know, they're, you know, stubborn, or they run through walls, or they're, you know, it's generally construed as a positive thing for one, whereas the other, it strikes a lot of negative connotations. And I think, you know, this is one example, but people don't double click on those enough and say like, hey, is this my own bias at work when I'm communicating, or is this, you know, is this the fact? And that's, I think, where we have to go next.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I do also follow the news about like how many female founders are out there, and see that there's more investment being pushed towards women, like technology towards women or women founders, but it still feels like we have a ways to go, and it feels like at least for this quarter that it took a hit. So I'm curious to see like what happens and how far we can get. Lisa, I'd love to bring you into and thinking about like biases in tech. I know you spent a lot of time thinking about this as like your side passion at IDEO of like how do we add more equity into the technologies that we build, and how does it come up for you in your work?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on. I do think a lot about this, so it's a little hard to organize my thoughts. I think that, you know, there are different levels that you can think about this at from like the individual and what the individual experience is. Like my own experience is like a woman in a field that's more male dominated, to like, you know, larger scale systems like companies or society or the economy as a whole. But you know, one of the things that I thought, I guess one of the things that I thought was really interesting in the video was the part in the performance, I guess, was the part where they were talking about we're teaching our AI to behave like us and teaching you to behave like our AI. So it's kind of like, you know, what are we optimizing for? Because basically in that part, you know, they're basically saying, we're teaching you to behave like us, like a bunch of white dudes. And I think about that with respect to kind of like tech and design in general, when we're creating these things that have been envisioned and then tested with such a small select group of people, which you already see kind of reflected in the piece itself, especially you know, when they're talking about their amazing team, and they mention that it's very elitist in that but anyway, so that's really interesting. But one thing I think a lot about, and it's again a concept that I'm stealing from Ruha Benjamin in Race After Technology that she talks about, is data and is data as a way, and technology as a way to hold a mirror up to society. So there are a lot of biases in our systems that could be amplified by putting certain data and algorithms in place. So, you know, as we've heard a lot of people say, it's kind of like what you put into an algorithm, the data that you put into it, and that's kind of like what they're talking about in the piece when they're like, we're teaching it to behave like you, kind of like what you put into it. That's going to be like what you get out of it if you're doing something like training an AI. But you can also kind of use that to really show kind of like when you use it to amplify the inequities, you know, say like this is very clearly you know, to kind of it serves as a mirror. So like, you know, when you hold it up like that, you can see like this is what we're training the AI or whatever, you know, when we put this into it, here's what comes out. Yeah, so I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about that, and those are some of them.
Something that did come up in preparation for this piece was the idea that when people don't necessarily understand technology, for some people there's an automatic trust, like, oh well, the AI or like the data tell us this, and there's actually a lot of layers there that, like, you know, where did the data come from? How was it acquired? Who was included in this conversation? Yeah. And so there's a lot more nuance to it than maybe the general public or how it's portrayed is understood.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think you're right that sometimes people seem to perceive data as fact or truth or something like that, when really, as you're saying, it reflects a lot of different things, including like how it was collected, what was included, what was not included. But additionally, I think you have to look into, like, you know, what are the conditions that even created the data? So even if we recorded everything correctly, like, why did it come out this way? I think you can think of you know, like I said before, there are they're like predictive policing has been something that algorithms have been used for that is very negative. But you know, like if some areas have higher crime, this could be because they're over policed, right? So if
Right.
so you know, that's just an example of like, not only do you have to pay attention to how you collect it, but like the whole societal condition behind what's going on.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think it's such a great point, and it's so interesting. And a whole nother panel just about that.
Yeah. Sorry, hopefully that wasn't too long about that whole thing.
No, it's great. Jenny, I wanted to turn to you because in our panel prep conversation, we were talking about how BRIC, for example, as an institution, has for a long time supported minority, diversity, but now there's been such a pile-on with Black Lives Matter, which is great, but it also feels like there are all these organizations kind of coming out of the woodwork to be like, yes, we also believe this. And it's interesting from a BRIC perspective, and as like your role as a curator at BRIC, this is something that you've long been working towards. And so how it feels right now in this moment of like, great, everyone's caught up, and what type of work can we like continue to do together, and some of your perspectives on curating art in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think to also talk about race after technology, there was a conversation about kind of surface presentation and kind of the marketing that happens to try and show diversity, or that they are trying to reach specific audiences, and how that is very much a way to kind of divert people's attention, and the kind of subtler ways of these biases working against certainly people of color, and thinking about other groups of people that are adversely affected by technology, which I thought was really interesting, because I think there is certainly not necessarily BRIC, but in the art world in general, since the hit of COVID and the Black Lives Matter movement, where there has been this call to support the movement, and then also to this kind of revision and call out of these specific institutions for the fact that they claim that they are for Black lives, but have no intention of doing anything towards that. And I think that's been a really amazing thing to witness in the art world, is this sense of, we're not going to stand for this anymore. For the period that we're in right now, it does seem like there is an attempt to revise these institutions and to call them out, and to really make them do the work that they claim that they want to do, but not just do this kind of surface claim to care for Black lives.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I feel like having you on the panel, I can't not ask of like, what is the role of art in reflecting back on technology, of like society, of like bringing issues up, driving conversation forward, or like what do you look for in art in terms of representing what's going on in society?
Yeah, I mean, I think that art can both reflect kind of an immediacy that I think is really important, and maybe gets lost amongst the inundation of images and text and everything that we consume on a daily basis. I think there is this immediacy that is felt when you're experiencing artwork. I think, Sean, you had mentioned like going and seeing an artwork recently, and how that was kind of a revelation. I think that kind of revelation, and that everything stopping when you experience something, that's what really good art does. I think also, I think this is, it's a hard question. It's not easy.
It's a big one.
I think really good art makes you think. So to a certain extent, it's asking a lot of questions and not giving you a lot of answers. I think to a certain extent, what Elevator is doing is essentially pointing a finger at something, but not giving you an exact formula for how to fix it. And I think oftentimes we want easy answers and want a pretty package at the end of whatever we're watching or consuming. And I think artwork to a certain extent disallows that.
Yeah.
Or good
Awesome.
at this.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being a curator and doing the work you do. I'd love to turn the last question over to Sean. Same question of like biases that you faced within your profession, but I also know, as you told us, that you are starting your own VC, which is super exciting, and just what you've experienced raising your own fund, what you see of, you know, investment going towards Black communities, and what you want to do towards that.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, as a founder, because I have the unique experience of both, it's been difficult raising capital, right? You know, raising for Arternal over the course of the last, you know, 5 years that we pivoted in this direction. It's been difficult just because, like, we don't match the pattern of a white male, right? And the industry may not want for the numbers to look like this, but it's just natural. Like, you're gonna invest in people that look like you. You're gonna, you know, if your profile is Ivy League school, white male, you know, because you know, you follow the bro code, like that's just where your money is going to go. And then you have, you know, the Black VCs who are underneath the, you know, white gaze, and they conform. It's like you get in there, you want to hold your position, and it's hard for them to be able to like cut a check to a Black founder, because you don't want to be seen like you're cutting the homie check, right? Even though white male VCs cut the homie check all day long, right? So, you know, this is a challenge, you know, that we face. Like, I'll sit down in front of a VC and they'll be like, oh, do you know Charles Hudson, or do you know Low Tony, or do you know Marlon Nichols? And I'm like, do you ask your white founders if they know these Black VCs, or are you just asking me because I'm Black and you want to know? Like, you know, I gotta face these things, and I can laugh at it now because I'm like, you know, distilling it and kind of understanding it. But these are some of the reasons why, you know, I decided to start a fund on my own, you know, with partners, of course. And you know, one of my partners, James Norman, has a nonprofit called Transparent Collective, which I went through, and it was about flying in women, Black and Latinx groups to be able to understand how to pitch, how to, you know, communicate with the right vernacular that's going to resonate, you know, with VCs, how to create that pitch deck, et cetera. And, you know, post seeing everything that's going on with George Floyd, I you know, we were just like, you know, we've got a captive audience here to really change the trajectory of how Black founders are perceived, and also take a moment to say, like, look, Black founders are the biggest arbitrage opportunity in the history of venture, right? Like, if you look at what America exports two things: technology and culture. And what culture does America export? Black culture, right? And so we've seen the best of what a white male founder can do, because they've gotten 99% of the capital. So we've seen the best of that. We don't even know. I mean, I know what Black founders are capable of because I'm connected to a whole bunch of them that are lacking funding. But, you know, if you actually give some of that funding to a Black founder, which is what we want to do with Black capital, you'll be able to see outsized returns, or possible generating outside returns. And so, you know, if we can have the same effect that we have in culture on that export, on the tech export, then, you know, there's a whole host of money that can be made for VCs.
Well, good luck. It's awesome. I love that you're pitching, that you're somehow managing to be a founder and a VC at the same time. This panel was amazing. It was so incredible having all of your unique voices in one place. And thank you so much to all of our participants, our attendees who stayed through after watching our intense piece. I would love to invite BJ back, who will just send us off.
Thanks so much, Liz. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to Mia Ravenio, Tahir Karmali, and Liz Tice of Thought who created this video iteration. I hope you will go to YouTube and watch it if you missed any part of it. My colleague is putting a link to that YouTube video in the chat so that you can go access it, share it with people, share it with your friends, have a conversation get started. And when you are done watching, if you could please go to the Google survey and answer the feedback questions, that will really, really help this group as they move the work forward. This is a work in progress. They are in the middle of development. It is not finished, and every little bit of feedback helps them as they continue to move this work forward. Thanks again for being here at BRIC, at BRIClab, at BRIClab at home. We have more coming up. You can see all of our events on our webpage, bricartsmedia.org. Thanks everyone for being here. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Jenny. Wait, what do we do now? And then we slide out.